And again, if South Carolina can beat Oregon, they will take on the winner of that game. But one game at a time, not jumping too far ahead here. We put out a poll yesterday on Twitter, our 107.5 The Game Twitter. It's got about 2 hours left, but usually when we get this far into it, the poll doesn't tend to change too much. And we asked the question, will the results of the NCAA tournament change your feeling on this season for the Gamecocks? Your results are nope, happy to be here, or 26 wins, gotta get one. As of right now, nope, happy to be here is winning with 57%, and then 26 wins, gotta get one is with 43%. So close to a split on both sides. And I understand that. I see both sides of the equation because there's nothing wrong with being happy to be here. This is a team and a program that has not had the success of being able to go to the NCAA tournament, even really be in the conversation a whole lot over the course of the past 7 years. So just making it back to the tournament in and of itself is certainly an accomplishment, especially when you're talking about only being in year 2 of a new head coaching tenure in Lamont Paris. So you obviously want the team to go in there and win, right? At the end of the day, that's what everybody's hoping for. But even if they don't, I don't think you're going to look back at this season and say it's a failure. But at the same time, when you have a season as great as what South Carolina's had, literally historic from the standpoint of 26 or 25 regular season wins, got your 26th win in the SEC tournament, you want to be able to capitalize on that, right? You want to be able to say, hey, we had a historic regular season, and we rolled that into 2 wins in the NCAA tournament, which would get you into the Sweet 16. Like, that would be phenomenal in, I think, everybody's eyes. Now, yes, at the end of the day, everybody wants to run the table and win the national championship. South Carolina's odds for that are certainly on the lower end, but you never know. I mean, these tournaments can surprise us. That we've seen crazy runs from teams that we weren't expecting to make it deep into the tournament. So you certainly don't discount anybody's chances before the before the tournament really even begins. But for South Carolina, again, in the context of where this team was expected to be before the season, if you're saying, hey, they're going to go out there and they're going to win 2 games, then I think everybody would take that in a heartbeat. And I think the proximity also matters when you're asking this question, because again, we are a day away from this game being played, where in again, about half your minds that if they don't get at least one win, that's going to be a disappointment. But if we rewound back in time to, let's say, early November, and you told anybody in the fan base, like, hey, South Carolina's going to go and win 25 regular season games. They're going to be a number 6 seed, and they're going to be in the NCAA tournament, but they don't win a game. I think most people would have said, well, dang, I thought they were going to be like 10th in the SEC this year at best. I'll take that for sure. Asking that same question right now is different because you're on the doorstep of the tournament, and you know what this team's capable of, and you want to see them go and have success. Now, hindsight's always 20/20. Let's say they do lose tomorrow against Oregon, and we get, in October, getting ready for the next season. Then I think people will be looking back, and you may have obviously been upset or, saying that, well, the season's a failure because they didn't beat Oregon. Then in October, you're probably looking back and saying, you know what? Despite the fact they didn't do anything in the tournament, they still made it and had a remarkable season, and that is something I'm going to relish in, something I'm going to cherish, because it was a fun year to follow South Carolina basketball. And I also think that the seeding of this kind of also changes people's perspective a little bit, because being the higher seed implies that you are the better team and you should win the game. If South Carolina was like a 14 or a 15 or 16 or something like that, and they were taking on one of the top dogs, if they were taking on Creighton in round 1, if they were taking on North Carolina or Tennessee or something like that, you'd probably look at the matchup and say, all right, they have a chance, obviously, but I'm not counting on it. But when you look at Oregon, there's a lot of deficiencies on that team. They are far from perfect. They were so up and down this season in the Pac-12. They only strung together double-digit wins. They only strung together back-to-back wins once during the entire tenure of conference play. So this team definitely is beatable compared to, again, if you matched up with a Purdue or a Houston or something like that, where you have lesser flaws and a more of an uphill climb to, to see what South Carolina can do. Regardless of what happens tomorrow or for the rest of the NCAA tournament, this season is, and again, it'll be easier to look back on down the road if they do lose tomorrow. This season's always going to be looked back on fondly for the moments, if nothing else. You had the win against Kentucky, which, go back to a season ago. They beat Kentucky up in Rupp Arena. But beating Kentucky this time around felt different. You felt, and yes, it was early on in conference play once again, but you felt like this was a team that was capable of accomplishing more than just that. Because when you go back to Lamont Paris's first year, yeah, they beat Kentucky in Rupp Arena, but I don't think anybody was necessarily expecting that to roll into a lot of momentum for the rest of, the rest of the season. It obviously didn't. But this year, based on what we saw in non-conference play, beating Kentucky, we all kind of looked around and said, well, wait a minute, this team might just have something here. And obviously, they ended up having something, and quite a special season at that. Right after that, you beat Tennessee at home. Or excuse me, you beat Tennessee on the road, something that literally nobody was doing. You went into Neville Arena you went into Thompson Bowling Arena, and you beat Tennessee. And you did it leading most of the game. It wasn't a miracle shot, last-second buzzer beater or anything like that. You legitimately controlled that game. You held Dalton Canetta in check for 35 minutes-ish, and yeah, he finally started getting his well at the end of the game, but it was too little too late at that point. And that kind of solidified the validity of this team, I guess is the best way to put it, when that happened. Because a lot of people were saying, Kentucky had a bad night. Even Calipari was like, we just had a bad night against South Carolina, no big deal. Then you beat Tennessee, and it's like, no, this is a good team. This is a really good team. And another great moment. Didn't end the way you wanted it to, but when Tennessee ends up coming to town at the end of the regular season, you are playing for a chance to lay claim to at least part of the SEC regular season crown. And yeah, you lost the game, obviously, but still, the environment at Colonial Life Arena, the hype surrounding that game, all the attention that the entire country was paying to South Carolina, huge deal. Huge deal. And it's those kind of things that are going to be looked back on and remembered the most from this season, unless South Carolina goes on another Final Four run or something like that. To me, the success in the tournament is really the gravy on top, if they have any at all. If they don't, it's not the end of the world. It's the end of the season, obviously, but it, in my opinion, doesn't diminish what they've already done up to this point. I'm interested in your thoughts as well. Firehouse Subs text on 803-404-6100. Does this team have to win a game or multiple games in the NCAA tournament to make the season successful in your eyes? And there's no wrong answer. You're allowed to feel however you want, and I understand both sides of the coin because there's no guarantee that this team's going to be this good or better next year. Again, Lamont Paris is locked in for the next handful of years now, but they could drop off. I mean, you're replacing a lot of talent this upcoming offseason, and we'll see what Lamont Paris does in the transfer portal. We'll see what the new signing class looks like as far as production goes and how guys can step up in 2024 and 2025. But there's no guarantee they're going to win 25 games or even be in the NCAA tournament next year. So this might be the only time. And you don't want to look back and say, oh, it was a failure because they didn't win a game if they never end up making it back under Lamont Paris ever again. And again, it's all hypotheticals right now because we don't know. We're just projecting at this point in time. But I'm interested to know your thoughts. So they have to win a game to make this season a success in your eyes. 803-404-6100. With the tournament kicking off tomorrow, going to have a real fun time. Myself and Terry Ford going to be broadcasting live out at Twin Peaks from noon until 3. You can take part in our Twin Peaks dance contest. Come in tomorrow, starting at 11:30 before our show, because games tip off right at noon. So you got to get in before our show starts. Ideally, we may be giving away a few teams as the day goes along as well, but try and get in as early as you can. Grab a team from the field of 68 or field of 64 in the dance. We're literally going to give you a slip of paper with a team name on it. Hold on to that. Going to get your information, all that stuff. And if your team wins, you can get South Carolina baseball season tickets for the remainder of the season. And even if your team doesn't win the national championship, by the way, you can still win prizes if your team makes the Sweet 16, if your team makes the Elite Eight, Final Four, all that kind of stuff. So just because you draw St. Peter's and they have Tennessee in round number 1 doesn't mean you can't get something for them if they make it far enough. If they win 2-3 games or something like that. So again, we'll start this at about 11:30 tomorrow at Twin Peaks down at the Vista. Come by and see us. We'll be handing out team names and seeing if you can win some prizes depending on how far your respective team goes in the tournament. We'll jump into conversation about baseball. Last night they were in action in the Upstate taking on USC Upstate out there in Greenville. We'll dive into that next. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on this Wednesday on The Game.
Network, the home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV.
It's the easiest way to snag Gamecocks baseball tickets for nothing. It's our Twin Peaks dance contest from The Game. Just stop by Twin Peaks in the Vista Thursday starting at 11:30 a.m. before our live show at Twin Peaks and randomly draw one of the 68 teams in the tournament. Hold on to that team. If your squad wins it all, you'll snag season tickets to the remainder of the 2024 USC baseball season. The Twin Peaks Dance Contest from Twin Peaks and The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Music fans, on Friday, March 22nd, a very special night is coming to Columbia. Southern Songwriters with Patrick Davis, a national television show produced for SCE-TV and American Public Television, is taping live at the historic Chappelle Auditorium at Allen University. Patrick will be joined by Drew Holcomb, David Ryan Harris, and Sean Mullins. This show will air on more than 300 stations this summer, and you can be part of it. Tickets are on sale at southernsongwriters.com or patrickdavismusic.com. One night only, March 22nd in Columbia.
What you're talking about. Brought to you by Love Chevy. Check out the Season of Love at South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. I-26 in Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Bill Gunner for Corley Pool Solutions. The spring is here. Are you ready to get out and enjoy your pool? And if so, you need to have it clean. You need to have it maintained. And Corley Pool Solutions believes in providing the absolute highest quality swimming pool service at the most affordable price to you. So give them a phone call today and line up some maintenance. 803-445-8109. Again, that's 803-445-8109. Your pool is Corley Pool Solutions' reputation. So you need to give them a call and get Tracy Corley out to your house today. 803-445-8109.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Is this house a good price compared to others in the area? Are prices going up or down? If I don't make an offer right this very moment, will I miss my chance? These are just some of the questions a home buyer might ask. And these are the sorts of questions an agent who is a Realtor can help answer. Because Realtors have the expertise, data, and access to specialty training to help you navigate the process of buying a home. They provide support, guidance, and have your back every step of the way. That's what Realtors do, because that's who we are. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
There's no better place to be in the spring than at Founders Park, cheering on the Gamecock baseball team. Get your single game tickets today. Tickets start as low as $12. Visit GamecocksOnline.com to get yours today.
Bill Gunner for Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic. Getting older is never fun. You start experiencing some symptoms that you're not accustomed to. Maybe it's brain fog. Maybe it's low energy level. Maybe it's lack of drive and motivation. But at the Men's Clinic, Dr. Dan Balknight is ready to help you with an individualized treatment that will treat your needs. So give him a phone call today, 803-875-MENS. Again, that's 803-875-MENS, or visit him on the web for more information, mensclinicsc.com.
Pete Alewine Pool and Spa is getting you ready for pool season with their March Mayhem sale. Saturday, March 16th through Saturday, March 23rd. 20% off all pool and spa chemicals to get your pool swim ready. 20% off salt, 20% off chlorine, 20% off algicides, 20% off shock, and more. March Mayhem at Pete Alewine Pool and Spa, March 16th through March 23rd. They're located at 5541 Sunset Boulevard. You'll find them on Facebook and Instagram or online at PeteAlewinepools.com.
Hit us up on the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100. Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence. The Extra Point with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
2 on the way for Jones. Sky high in the air to right. Racing back is Kropp at the track, at the wall. It is off the face of the wall and rolling back into right field. Parker Nolan scores. Here comes Cole Messina. Kennedy Jones will hold up at third. It is a 2 RBI triple for Mr. Jones. And South Carolina takes a 7-2 lead in the top of the 4th.
Welcome back in. Extra Point, Tyler Head along with you on this Wednesday morning. We'll get back in the basketball conversation in just a moment. Get to your calls on the Love Chevrolet phone lines as well. But we'll talk a little bit of baseball. That was called last night on the Gamecocks Radio Network. Kennedy Jones, hottest hitter on this team as of right now, leading the team in batting average with a 2 RBI triple for 2 of the 14 runs that South Carolina scored last night in their victory over USC Upstate up there in Greenville. Now, it looked like this game was going to be a run rule as South Carolina was comfortably leading by 10 runs early in the top half of the 6th inning. Things kind of got away from South Carolina in the bottom of the 6th inning, and USC Upstate came kind of storming back as South Carolina was struggling to get outs in the bottom half of that inning. But the back half of the bullpen ends up coming in, calming things down a little bit, and South Carolina ends up scoring enough runs to pick up the 14-8 victory last night. And that's one of those games that at the end of the day, how much does it mean? Not a whole lot. It's certainly not a super resume-boosting win. And now that especially you're in conference play, those games obviously matter more than anything else. But when you come off of a weekend like South Carolina had, where you lost the first 2 games, and you did win the third game, so you didn't get swept by Ole Miss, but you still lost a series in the SEC, which is can be very hard to bounce back from, depending on how many of those you lose over the course of the season. I feel like last night was a really good confidence booster in a lot of ways for South Carolina, as you get to set to take on one of literally the best programs, if not the best program in the country, in Vanderbilt this upcoming weekend for your home SEC series opener out at Founders Park. As I mentioned, and look, the midweek games, they become bullpen nights, staff nights, whatever you want to call them. Copper went out there, tossed a couple innings, gave up a few more hits than usual, and 2 runs. Not his best performance. Pitzer came in, pitched pretty well in his 2 innings of work. Marlott got his inning in, had a strikeout, no hits, no runs there. Things kind of went sideways when Dean came in, and he's the one that ended up giving up the bulk of the runs for those, again, in the bottom half of that 6th inning, and then Ty Good came in to help him out a little bit and couldn't get any outs either. Those two guys just were struggling to get anybody out, and that's kind of where things got off the rails with them. Veach comes in, does a couple innings of work, gets things back on track, pops 2 outs right there in the bottom of the 6th to get them out of that trouble. And then Garrett Gainey comes in to close things out. And I've lofted so much praise at Garrett Gainey so far this season, but he's without a doubt the MVP of this team, in my opinion, at least on the pitching side of things so far, because he has been absolutely electric and lights out. Comes in the 9th inning last night and throws another hitless frame with 2 strikeouts to go along with it. So he's been such an integral piece of this team. I think he's going to help them have a lot of success as the season goes along in these very, very tough SEC matchups. And again, you're getting set to welcome in the toughest, one of the, if not the toughest teams in all the country, in Vanderbilt, who, by the way, didn't blank Auburn this weekend, but beat them pretty soundly, outscoring them by 20-some-odd runs in their home opening series against them in Nashville this past weekend. So hopefully it's a big confidence booster for South Carolina. Look at a couple of guys that, offensively had big nights. Cole Messina, after getting no hit against Ole Miss this past weekend, goes out there, goes 4 for 5, had a home run at the very beginning of the game in the first inning. Had a couple doubles as well, so good confidence booster for him. Heath Petrie, who struck out 7 times over the weekend against Ole Miss, goes out there, hits a home run himself, ends up going 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 3 walks when it was all said and done. So again, hopefully this kind of rolls into a good weekend for South Carolina coming up against Vanderbilt. Jumping back into the basketball conversation, I asked the question in segment number 1, does South Carolina need to win a game in the NCAA tournament to make this season a success in your eyes, or are you good with everything they've done to this point and everything past this is just going to be gravy? Head out to Love Chevrolet phone lines. David wants to weigh in on this. David, appreciate your call this morning. What's on your mind?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Hey, it's actually... two things. Obviously, I'm not a big South Carolina fan, but I was impressed with what they did this year. I thought they'd make a bigger, better run, maybe in the SECs, and get to the final game. But I'm going to be honest. I think he's done a good job. It's a gritty team. It's a hard fighting team. I've got them getting all the way to Creighton and then Creighton in the tournament, which I think is a fantastic season. And it wouldn't surprise me to see them get a win over Creighton. So it was kind of a tough one to pick in that in the bracket. I do got a question to see what you think in regards to. I got a Final Four of UConn, North Carolina, Houston, and Gonzaga, with Houston and North Carolina in that final game. Being a Tar Heel fan, I'm a little bit hesitant to pick them to win that national championship game over Houston, just because I haven't really seen them play, but I've obviously heard how good they've done this year. I guess I got a little more optimism with Houston going down to New Mexico, but obviously North Carolina going down to NC State wasn't expected either. So that final game, I mean, what's your thoughts on Houston and a North Carolina matchup, and what's your thoughts on whether North Carolina might be able to get that done? I like the senior-laden team, but what's your thoughts on that? But like I said, I think he's done a fantastic job at USC. It definitely caught my attention, and I actually watched them play this year. I actually enjoyed watching how gritty that team was.
I appreciate your call there, David. And look, I think we've all certainly enjoyed watching this team play this year. Whether you're a fan of them or not, you certainly appreciate what they've been able to do, especially in a short time under Lamont Paris. And again, I'm getting a sentiment from a lot of you on the Firehouse Subs text line, too, that they don't necessarily have to win a game for this season to be a success in your eyes. As far as the national championship goes, he said he had Houston, North Carolina, UConn, and Gonzaga in his Final Four. So that will be 3 number 1 seeds, and then Gonzaga comes in as a number 5. They have McNeese in the first round. That's going to be a pretty interesting game. That might be one of those where you have the potential for the 12 to upset the 5 there. But Gonzaga's a team that's obviously been in the Final Four before, so you can never count them out. It's funny that you actually picked North Carolina and Houston as your national championship matchup. That is, I'm looking at the bracket that Gunner filled out here, sitting on our table. It says 7:15 yesterday morning is when he filled it out. That is actually the national championship game that he has as well. And obviously, North Carolina and Houston, 2 teams that have had a lot of success this season, obviously coming in as number 1 seeds. I'm I'm skeptical of Houston. I'll be honest with you, and especially seeing what happened with them in the Big 12 tournament this past weekend, losing in the fashion that they did, that is worrisome for me as far as claiming them to be national champion. Can they get far in the tournament? Absolutely. Can they get to the Final Four? Certainly. But I don't know. I just, something about the way that they lost to Iowa State over the weekend just kills my confidence in them a little bit. I think UNC, certainly a very good team. And now, look, they lost to North Carolina State in the championship of the ACC over the weekend, so they're certainly vulnerable as well. Now, North Carolina State is perhaps the hottest team going into the NCAA tournament because of what they did over the course of the ACC tournament, but again, great team step up when it comes to tournament play, and I'm not going to sit here and say I'd be shocked North Carolina and Houston were playing for the national championship, and it'd just be yet another banner to hang up there in Chapel Hill if the Tar Heels were able to pull off yet another national championship. So not a bad pick there. And again, you talk about two programs that are perennially towards the top of college basketball. North Carolina and Houston are certainly that, and again, wouldn't shock me to see them in the Final Four. Or in the national championship. I gotta finish filling out my bracket. I don't like to be the person that jumps on it right away. Like, there are people that the second the brackets come out on Selection Sunday, they're going through and they're picking them and all that kind of stuff. I gotta wait a few days, listen to some perspectives, because here, at the end of the day, nobody knows everything about all 64 teams. That's kind of the beauty of college basketball and March Madness, is that, we're very hyper-focused on the SEC here, so we know a lot about SEC teams and all that kind of stuff. But, I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find people that are as well-versed in what Duquesne and Morehead State are doing right now. You know what I mean? That's just two teams as an example. You may know a lot about those two teams, but again, a full 64-team field, we're all naive to some point on some of these teams, which again makes the unknown the fun part of it, because you just never know what can happen. We've seen 16 seeds upset ones in these past couple of years, and you just never know with how unpredictable this tournament always is. So I got to fill out my bracket tonight before things get rolling tomorrow. I do have South Carolina beating Oregon, by the way, so I'll at least put that one out there. Matching up with Creighton in the second round. We'll see what happens there if South Carolina can get that far. We'll continue to have this conversation as the show goes along. I'll get to some of your text on the Firehouse Subs text line a little bit later on as well. But coming up next, Jen Jensen going to jump in studio with me here as we've got some racing to talk about. A very exciting Sunday out at the Bristol Motor Speedway. We'll dive into that coming up next. It is The Extra Point here on The Game.
The Game Network. The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. Listen to Gamecocks baseball on The Game. And if a Gamecocks batter hits a grand slam, you could win cash. You could win cash. You could win cash. You could win cash in the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. Go to 1075thegame.com and register. Brought to you by Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union and The Game.
Sneezing, coughing, stuffy nose, runny nose, postnasal drip, interrupted sleeping. I was groggy at the end of the day.
Allergies and sinus congestion were making Jana miserable. Then, a friend recommended Navage. Navage provides immediate drug-free congestion relief, flushing your nasal passages with refreshing saline and sucking out mucus, germs, and other airborne irritants. Navage helps you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel your best right away.
Navage gave me instant relief. I didn't have to wait 30 minutes. I didn't have to wait an hour, 90 minutes. I didn't have to wait a minute. I ran the rinse and I felt better.
Stop suffering from congestion and start breathing and feeling your best again with Navage. Navage.
I've had people ask me how I find relief, and I tell them Navage immediately. This thing is amazing.
Navage is available at Navage.com or at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid.
Introducing Herndon Certified. Herndon Certified used vehicles are quality assured and come with our 60-day warranty, complete with nationwide coverage. Don't just buy a used car. Buy a Herndon Certified used car and drive with confidence, knowing Herndon's got you covered. Find your perfect pre-owned in-store or online at HerndonChevy.com.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile. Smile.
March into serenity and step into relaxation with the Spring Madness Member for a Day sale at Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa. Indulge in exclusive benefits, including 10% off products, access to low member price services, and special savings on gift cards. Explore rejuvenation at their locations in the Columbia area or visit handandstone.com to unlock online offers. Embrace the tranquil spirit of spring. See spa for details. Restrictions may apply.
Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union wants to reward you for saving more of your hard-earned money, and they can't think of a better way to do it than with more cash. When you participate in Palmetto Citizens Save to Win program, every time you make a savings deposit of just $25, you'll be entered into a monthly and quarterly prize drawing for a chance to win up to $5,000. All the money that piles up in your Save to Win account is yours to keep, along with the interest you earned, so there's never been a better time to get the ball rolling on your savings plan. With a Save to Win account, there's nothing to lose and everything to win. Open your 12-month Save to Win term certificate account and start saving today by visiting any of Palmetto Citizens' 14 branches across the Midlands, or go to palmettocitizens.org to learn more. Palmetto Citizens, proudly serving the Midlands since 1936. Account may be subject to penalty for early withdrawal. This credit union is federally insured by the NCUA.
The madness is here, the excitement, the upsets, and the thrill of the game. But when it comes to the game of life, don't let the unexpected leave you on the sidelines. Set a game plan this March to protect your loved ones with life insurance. I turned to SelectQuote to secure our coverage and couldn't believe how easy and affordable it was. I'm 40, and my $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. My wife's also 40, and her $500,000 policy was only $16 a month. Plus, with their same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Be the MVP of your family this month by protecting their future. Some policies are less than $1 a day.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-694-8181. That's 1-800-694-8181. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-694-8181. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
What you're talking about. Brought to you by Love Chevy, the best selection of new Chevys. Right now, no hassle, no ridiculous add-on stickers. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive. What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. On your home of the Gamecocks. In Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
White flag, sponsored by Credit One Bank. Nursing around here. Works around the outside of Chase Briscoe. And by about 12 car lengths, Denny Hamlin. It's going to win Bristol. 2 in a row here.
My bad.
A winner here last fall. And he wins on the return to Spring Concrete.
Welcome back in. Extra Point, Tyler Head along with you on this Wednesday morning. Jen Jensen joining me now in the Herndon Chevrolet studios. Talk a little bit of racing. That was the call on Sunday afternoon on Fox. Denny Hamlin picking up his second straight win at the Bristol Motor Speedway in the Food City 500. Jen, I've been watching racing my entire life. I legitimately think that might be one of the most entertaining and fun races I've ever watched from start to finish.
I'm telling you, it was really good, but it also has had a lot of mixed reviews, which sure. I find, and I guess that's to be expected. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was one of those things where obviously we've been running on dirt at Bristol the past couple of years. That was controversial in and of itself, and I'm an open-minded person. I didn't mind them trying that, but it's something that kind of wore off as the years went by. It wasn't quite as special as I think, NASCAR wanted it to be once it got to year number 3. Go back to the concrete, throwback, all that kind of stuff. Everybody's excited about that. I really wasn't expecting all that great of a race. because the next gen car at Bristol, it's been okay, but not fantastic by any means. And we still don't know why, but the tires were disintegrating on Sunday. They weren't lasting 50 laps through the first half of the race, really, and it really ended up being a race of tire management. And as, you know, not fun as that might sound, it ended up being very fun because it truly tested drivers' skills and their ability to manage their equipment through the entire race.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do think it was a benefit for those who have raced like that before, where tire management was key. You know, those who have run like the modified races and stuff like that, you know, the Hamlins and the Truexes of the world. I think that was just kind of a throwback for them.
Well, and I think it speaks volumes to the fact that Hamlin, Truex, and Keselowski finished 1, 2, 3. And you talk about guys that have been around the top level of NASCAR for over a decade now. Gosh, Denny Hamlin's almost been 20 years, believe it or not. But, you know, for the long time, that's what a lot of NASCAR races were. You had to take care of your stuff. You had to make your equipment last 400, 500 miles. As we've gotten into, you know, the next gen era, the Gen 6 era, a lot of that went away, and Goodyear was bringing harder tires to places where that kind of stuff didn't matter. But when we have these conversations about rolls packages and horsepower and all that kind of stuff, we talk about it from the standpoint of wanting to see more go back into the driver's hands. Well, if they can replicate what they did on Sunday on a week in, week out basis, I think we're cooking with something.
Yeah. And I mean, you think about all of the passes. I mean, what they had a record number of passes, I think, this
for the
at
lead,
the race for the lead, as far as what is it, 54, I think, lead changes or something. That's incredible. That's really good, strong racing.
It shattered the previous track record of 40.
Is that what I didn't remember what it was? So yeah, that's significant for, you know, especially Bristol.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to see, and that's my thing is, you know, NASCAR prides itself on being the best drivers in the world every single week. And a race like that really shows that to me. And there's nothing wrong with super speedway racing and that type of stuff, but there's something about not only driving fast, but also having to manage what you have over the course of 500 laps at a place like Bristol that really puts talent on display. And again, Denny Hamlin, Hall of Famers, won everything with the exception of a championship up to this point, ends up coming out on top.
I mean, because you're balancing, I've got to be aggressive at times, but then at times I've got to manage my tires. I can't be both, you know? So like you said, it just puts everything back into their hands. And I think that's kind of what makes it fun. And that's what we want to see.
Absolutely. And there was not a single person coming away from the weekend saying, man, wish they were running on the dirt again.
Right. No. I think it was like we talked about last week. It's one of those, it was great for them to try, but it was nice to kind of get back to the norm. But again, the whole tire thing just did make it a little bit interesting. But yet I think it was okay.
Yeah, it ended up being great. And I think Goodyear was panicking a little bit as it was happening because at the end of the day, they want their tires to be represented as good and strong. They don't want them to be blowing every 50 laps. But again, when you see the reaction to this, hearing Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, a lot of these drivers talk about it after the race, saying, no, this is what we wanted. This is what we've been pushing for the past couple of years. We want to have it more in our hands. We want it to be up to us. We don't want to have to talk about rolls packages and aerodynamics and blocking and all this kind of stuff on a week in, week out basis if we have more of like this. Now, we're going to be going to Martinsville. We're going to be going to Richmond, going to be going to North Wilkesboro here over the next couple of weeks. I don't know if we're going to be able to replicate the same thing, especially at a place like Wilkesboro that's been repaved. But if we could, I think that would solve a lot of the short track issues we've had these past couple of years.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And I know that there were some drivers, especially if they didn't do as well, like Blaney, you know, was disappointed in the tire and he said it was too off the chains. And there were a couple who said maybe if we can reel it in just a little bit or something, like if there's a little bit of balance to it. And Truex mentioned like if we could even make it a little bit better for the right sides.
Right. And Denny Hamlin mentioned this on his podcast. A lot of this was the unknown of the teams going into the race. And yeah, they practiced on Saturday and you kind of saw a little bit of this popping up, but again, practice is very limited, didn't have a lot of time to deal with it. If we went back there today and ran another 500 laps, those tires would last a lot longer because the teams would know how to adjust the camber and adjust the toe, and they would have a better idea of how to prepare for it. So I'm all for bringing those exact tires back this fall, and I don't know if it's the resin or the PJ1 that has the effect on the tires like it did this weekend where the track just wasn't taking rubber, but I'm all for trying this again because legitimately I think that was one of the best short track races I've ever seen.
I would totally agree, and I find it interesting that Joe Gibbs had it nailed.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at, what'd they have? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, they were running
in the top 10.
They were running 1, 2, 3, 4 for a majority of the race. I think
Yeah.
Ty Gibbs might have had the best car.
Yes.
He just wasn't as good as saving his tires,
Yep.
and that ended up hurting him at the end.
Yeah, truly. Looking at the stat, it was like combined, the drivers for Joe Gibbs, they led 431 of the laps. They were just so dominant there. And
Right.
I don't know if it has to do with Joe Gibbs, it has to do with the Toyota. Just very interesting.
And when we look at this next string of races, again, Richmond, Martinsville coming up these shorter tracks, you look at what they did at Phoenix this past, the weekend before. Toyota's got something figured out at these shorter tracks. They're still coming along at the bigger tracks because the new body design and all that kind of stuff. But something about these shorter tracks, Toyota's going to be hard to beat this year, it looks like.
It sure looks like it. It's going to be fun.
If you have a Toyota driver in your Final Four, you're probably feeling good about that right
I
now
would think
they're a good
so.
shot at winning the championship. So fun weekend at Bristol, obviously, and hopefully that's a sign of what's to come with some of these shorter tracks. They can replicate that tire degradation. We now go to COTA this upcoming weekend. First road course race of the season. I've been back and forth on COTA. Like, I'm fine with road courses. I think maybe we've overdone it a little bit these past couple years. COTA's kind of similar to the Bristol Dirt Race, to me, wearing off its shine a little bit the more and more we go there. It's a big track.
Yeah.
It's not the most exciting. Last year was kind of a blank show at the end of the day. I don't know if this is a place I see them going back to year after year after year. But hopefully we'll get something good this weekend.
I hope so. And it's always interesting with the road courses. We end up bringing in a few ringers. So, Shane Von Gissenberg is coming back, which he's been working his way through. I know that.
Which, by the way,
working with
very
him.
impressive in Xfinity this year.
Oh my gosh, right?
The exception of, I believe, an engine issue at Vegas. He's been like top 15.
Yeah.
Everywhere
so
else.
he's definitely a threat. But I know that 2311 is bringing Kobayashi back. He was last in Indy.
also be in for colleague as well.
Yep. So it's like, they always bring a few of those in, which I always kind of have mixed emotions about that. It's like, okay, but it makes it exciting. And those who are more skilled at it, well, then everybody else is going to have to up their game.
Absolutely. And again, first road course race of the season. We have so many on the schedule now. It's a big part. We have Watkins Glen now in the playoffs in addition to the Roval. So this weekend's going to be very interesting to see who's performing well at the road courses and what that means for the rest of the season as well.
I agree. I think it's a lot of fun. And I'm with you. COTA, maybe, I don't know how many years they're slated to be there, but we'll see how it goes this time. But hopefully it gets good reviews, good marks. And as far as ratings, because we're still on an upward trend as far as ratings for the races.
That's right.
Bristol was up another 10%.
Which is exciting to see. Love seeing more interest coming back in the sport, whether that's from the Netflix documentary or whatever it may be.
Whatever it is.
I'm all for it. So great weekend of racing at Bristol, and we'll see what happens at COTA this weekend, and we'll react to it coming up next week. So appreciate it as always, Jen.
Thank you so much.
And Jen Jensen from the early game talking a little bit of racing, as she does with me each and every Wednesday here on The Extra Point. We'll come back and wrap up today's, hour number one. Get some of your thoughts on the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100. It's The Extra Point here on The Game.
The Game Network. The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV.
It's the easiest way to snag Gamecocks baseball tickets for nothing. It's our Twin Peaks dance contest from The Game. Just stop by Twin Peaks in the Vista Thursday starting at 11:30 a.m. before our live show at Twin Peaks and randomly draw one of the 68 teams in the tournament. Hold on to that team. If your squad wins it all, you'll snag season tickets to the remainder of the 2024 USC baseball season. The Twin Peaks Dance Contest from Twin Peaks and The Game.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute. Tonight, Columbia meets Vanderbilt in a women's NCAA tournament play-in. Lions' 22-year-old shooting guard Abby Shue, the Ivy League career three-point shot record holder, has experienced more tragedy in the last 5 years than most witness in a lifetime. She survived the Parkland, Florida shooting spree. Then her dad, a physician, died of COVID while trying to save his patients. Good luck, Abby. You are an inspiration. I'm Boomer Esiason.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. The body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text HATCH to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone-boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text HATCH to 42424. That's HATCH to 42424.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
There's something remarkable about the University of South Carolina. It's in the labs, where researchers are discovering ways to make communities healthier and stronger. It's in the nation's best first-year student experience, in top-ranked programs in nursing and health sciences. It's where more South Carolina students have access to higher education than ever before. Because when you stand for something bigger than yourself, you can create something that benefits us all. Behold, the remarkable we.
The 89th running of the Carolina Cup Races presented by MUSC Health. March 30th in Camden, South Carolina. It's where spring begins. Make your plans now to attend this great Southern tradition for the best tailgating, entertainment, fashion, and fun for kids and adults of all ages. Gates open at 9 a.m., rain or shine. Come see fantastic thoroughbreds, jump the fences, and race to victory. Get your tickets now and plan to party with family and friends all day. Visit carolinacup.org for tickets and details. Don't miss it. Saturday, March 30th.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Minimum purchase required. Interest accrues from date of purchase but is waived if paid within promotional period. Go to windowappointmentnow.com for full offer details.
Attention homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? Fog between the glass? Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's time to replace. And right now you can get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen. Plus with our March 31-day sales event, you can save $377 off every window and $777 off every door when you buy 4 or more units. Just text WALL to 200-300 for your free consultation on top quality affordable windows or patio doors for no dollars down, no monthly payments, and no interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Text WALL to 200-300 to save $377 off every window and $777 off every door when you buy 4 or more units. Hurry, this incredible 31-day sales offer is only in March. Text WALL to 200-300. Text the word WALL to 200-300. WALL to 200-300.
Extra Point with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia. 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back in. Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on this Wednesday morning. Wrapping up hour number 1. Get to some of your thoughts on the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100 in just a second. But I want to remind you, coming up in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks from now, I guess, 2.5 weeks from now, Friday, April the 5th, will be our annual spring golf tournament out at Charwood Golf Club out in West Columbia. 10 a.m. shotgun start. If you want to take part in it, it is $400 for a group of 4, $200 for a pair. If winners will get tickets to the remaining USC baseball games, or pair tickets at least, for the remaining USC baseball games in this season. We'll also be giving away Carowinds tickets, concert tickets, Crap Your Passports, and much, much more. Again, if you want to take part in the 107.5 The Game annual spring golf tournament, give Charwood a call at 803-755-2000. Register. Again, 803-755-2000. Register. We hope to see all of you out there on Friday, April the 5th. That's Final Four weekend, by the way. Speaking of which, I asked the question at the top of the hour, does South Carolina need to win a game in the NCAA tournament for this season to be a success in your minds? We had the Twitter poll out there that's about to close. It's pretty close to even at this point in time, but I wanted to know what y'all's thoughts are. Tim weighs in and says, you touched on a good point. Obviously, it's been a great season, best in 7 years. Fans should be beyond excited. They've done so well, but there's no guarantee that this winning mentality will carry over to a new season. You want to see them do well or even win, but considering it's only Paris' second year, I don't see how they can be too upset if they were to fall to Oregon. And that's, again, a point that I did bring up earlier, that there's no guarantee that this is the beginning of something great. We certainly hope it is, and with South Carolina paying Coach Paris to stay around for a while, they believe it's going to be. But there's no guarantees in this sport or any sport for that matter. So this, for all we know, could be the only time that Paris gets them in the tournament, and could be another 7-year drought until they get back. So I say try and enjoy it for all that it's worth. And if they lose, they lose. If they win, they win. But regardless, it's been a fun season. It's been a special season full of really great moments, again, that we're going to look back on. The Kentucky game, the one against Tennessee, playing Tennessee for the SEC championship. You know what I mean? Like tons of great stuff built in to what has been a fun season so far that hopefully continues to extend past tomorrow. But even if it doesn't, I think it'll be a season to remember. Let's see here. Tommy weighing in says they absolutely do not have to win a game in the tournament. Season's been a success already. Anything else they do on here from out would be a bonus. Hopefully Coach Paris can take this momentum and build towards the future, unlike the previous staff after going to the Final Four. That is interesting. You know, when you think back to to Coach Martin, when you go to a Final Four, you set the expectations for your program very high for the foreseeable future, because at bare minimum, you should be getting back to the tournament the next year, right? And when you don't make the tournament ever again in the following, 5 seasons? Yeah, that's how you get fired. Now, is South Carolina going to make the Final Four? I'd say probably not. Can they win a couple games? Sure. But the success that you have in the tournament kind of sets the standard for where people are going to expect your program to be over the next couple of years. And again, making the Final Four, then not making it again, yeah, that's how you get canned. But if for Coach Paris's team, I feel like, especially after how special this season was, the standard for next year, the hope and the expectation at least, is to make it back to the tournament again. And again, there's so many questions to be answered in the offseason, so many players that you have to replace. It's impossible to say whether that's going to be feasible or not. So take it one game at a time, focus on tomorrow, enjoy it for what it is. Hopefully it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think these two teams are very even in a lot of ways that I don't expect it to be a blowout on either side. But enjoy the 40 minutes for what they end up being. Hopefully we're talking about a South Carolina win, and hopefully we're previewing a matchup with maybe Creighton coming up this weekend. But even if they don't, I think it's still a successful season. Seems like a lot of you feel that way, as well. And certainly a season we're going to be talking about for a long time to come, with a lot of great moments mixed in. So, again, that'll do it for hour number 1 of the Extra Point. We'll talk about this game more coming up at 10:30. Have Zachary Neal from Ducks Wire going to give us some perspective from Eugene, Oregon on what to expect out of this Ducks team coming up tomorrow. I'll also talk a little bit of spring practice as well, as Coach Beamer did speak yesterday afternoon after practice number 1. We'll get to that coming up. To start off hour number 2, it is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you, flying solo until 11. Ed Bird producing on the other side of the glass here on The Game.
.1075 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. Discover Herndon Certified. Herndon Chevrolet's premier used car warranty. Shop with complete confidence knowing Herndon Chevrolet has got you covered. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Once again, let me remind you about my friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist. I tell you about them all the time, but especially as we get set to apparently have some rain coming in this weekend, you need to keep your home's foundation in mind, especially if you have an open crawl space, because storms can create standing water underneath your home. High humidity and condensation in that crawl space can create an environment for mold, mildew, and pests, including things like termites. That moisture can also lead to wood rot and floor joist problems. Those musty smells and awful odors that come from mold and mildew can creep into your home and cause health issues such as runny nose, itchy eyes, and coughs as well, because of up to half the air that you breathe in your home comes from your crawl space. Any issues with your crawl space or your home's foundation, you need to check out our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist. Go online to schedule an appointment at cantycanfixit.com. Again, cantycanfixit.com. Our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist.
Pete Alewine Pool and Spa is getting you ready for pool season with their March Mayhem sale. Saturday, March 16th through Saturday, March 23rd. 20% off all pool and spa chemicals to get your pool swim ready. 20% off salt, 20% off chlorine, 20% off algicides, 20% off shock, and more. March Mayhem at Pete Alewine Pool and Spa, March 16th through March 23rd. They're located at 5541 Sunset Boulevard. You'll find them on Facebook and Instagram or online at PeteAlewinePools.com.
The less your business spends, the more margin you keep. But everything else costs more. Smart businesses are graduating to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system that brings accounting, financial management, inventory, HR onto one platform. It reduces IT costs, and over 37,000 companies have already made the move. Now through April 15th, NetSuite is offering one-of-a-kind flexible financial programs. Head to netsuite.com/Patrick. If you like using debit over credit, don't you think it's time you also got rewarded? Well, now you can with Discover Cashback Debit. It's a checking account that rewards everyone with cashback on everyday purchases. Plus, you're not charged any account fees, period. Whether you're moving, starting a new job, or headed into that next stage of your life, whatever it is, Discover Cashback Debit is for everyone. Check out eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Are you a golfer looking to network with local business professionals? Join us for the 38th Annual Columbia Chamber Golf Classic, presented by Splash Omnimedia on April 25th. Spend the day teeing up with the movers and shakers of Columbia's business world on the beautiful courses at Fort Jackson Golf Club. Play some of the best golf in town and enjoy the southern hospitality of our local sponsors. That's Thursday, April 25th. Don't miss the chance for your business to putt around with local business leaders. Sponsorships and teams are still available. Visit columbiachamber.com to register.
Plus tax and title with approved credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. We're more than halfway through JT's Kia Mania. Don't miss your chance to win a Kia. No purchase necessary. Just come in and register. With every new car, you get a huge cashback check. Wow. Choose from new 2024 Kia Souls, K5s, Fortes, and more. 0 down and no payments for 6 months. Plus food, fun, and games for the kids all weekend. Experience JT's Kia Mania on Killian or Greystone. JT's Kia Mania is back.
With conference championships around the corner, now's the time to register for the Dose Million Bracket Challenge. Sign up now at TwinPeaksBracketChallenge.com. Then fill out your bracket before the tournament tips off on March 21st. Enter for a chance to win $2 million and more epic prizes, including a $50 gift card to the top bracket from every lodge. Only available at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar. Online at TwinPeaksBracketChallenge.com.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
Hey, this is Gamecock catcher Cole Messina. You're listening to the home of the Gamecocks at 107.5 The Game.
A Cumulus media station. The extra point, the extra point, the extra point, the extra point. With Tyler Head and Gamecock Central on your home of the Gamecocks. In Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Hour number 2, welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head with you on this Wednesday morning. Again, getting set for the NCAA tournament. Officially, I guess, getting started tomorrow if you don't count the first 4 games being part of the tournament. Interesting first 4 game coming up tonight from the Gamecock perspective on the women's side of the bracket, at least, as you have Presbyterian and Sacred Heart playing each other at Colonial Life Arena for the right to take on South Carolina coming up on Friday. Tip-off for the women's game will be Friday at 2 o'clock, which we'll have for you here on the game. And then the men obviously tipping off tomorrow at 4 o'clock, 3:30 pregame, also right here on the game. Regardless of who wins between Sacred Heart and Presbyterian, I think we can all collectively agree South Carolina should not have any problem with that team in the first round, as they are just truly head and shoulders better than both those teams. I think if Sacred Heart and Presbyterian rolled both their teams onto the court to take on South Carolina, Carolina would probably still win that game pretty handily. So those teams will be playing tonight. I believe that game will be on ESPNU. If you want to check it out, just see who Carolina's first victim will be in the NCAA tournament. Yesterday was the first day of spring practice for Carolina football as they get set for the long off season of preparing for the 2024 year, which is going to obviously be very tough. I mean, we've talked about the schedule ad nauseum since it came out in December and how daunting of a task it's going to be for South Carolina to get themselves back to a bowl, which I feel like is the bare minimum of what the expectation for this season is. And you're looking at so many questions this offseason. I really think the most questions about a team since Beamer first got here, because obviously that first spring with new coaching staff and a lot of player turnover and all that kind of stuff, you have a ton of questions about what the program's going to look like. I think you have just as many questions on how all this is going to shape out with so many new faces, not just on your roster, but on your coaching staff as well. I mean, Carolina brought in so many different guys from the transfer portal at so many different positions. There are a ton of position groups that we don't know how the depth chart's going to shake out just because there's so many new faces there, in addition to new coaches in new places as well. And all these questions aren't going to be answered over the course of just spring practice. I mean, there are going to be some battles that are likely going to go into the season. And unlike last year where you started off the season with a Power 5 opponent in North Carolina, you got Old Dominion. A lot of guys can look really good against Old Dominion and then look not great against Kentucky the next week. So some of these spots, you might be looking a couple weeks into the season before you truly figure out what you have at those respective positions. But again, that's to be expected. Battles go on the entire offseason, especially in today's world of transfers and all that kind of stuff, where you just have so much turnover on your roster. That is to be expected. And again, I feel like the bare minimum of expectation for this team is to make it back to a bowl game. Because for the first 2 seasons under Shane Beamer, they did that and exceeded expectations both those years. They weren't given any kind of chance of making a bowl in year number 1. They did it. It was certainly looking bleak and looked like they were heading for 6-6 in year number 2. Won 2 monumental games to close out the year and made it to a bowl game. Year number 3, to go 5-7, very underwhelming and seen as a step back in a lot of people's eyes. So can South Carolina put together a team or craft the right combination of the talent that you have to be able to take on this uphill battle that is their 2024 schedule to at least get back to a bowl game? Again, we got to wait 160 some odd days to start finding out answers to that as far as the season itself goes. But between now and then, plenty of conversation about what that team exactly is going to look like. And that all starts with the quarterback. Because guess what? If you don't have good quarterback play, you're not going to win too many games. And Lenora Sellers comes in as not the incumbent, because it was not his job last season, but the guy with the inside track, with the most experience within the South Carolina quarterback room. And he got the first snap of quarterbacks at practice yesterday, but from then on, it's competition. Cut number 2 here, Ed. This is Coach Beamer yesterday in his presser, just talking about what he's expecting to see from his quarterbacks over this offseason.
Yeah, as far as the quarterbacks, just being able to operate and execute the offense and be efficient. When we're huddling, can you get in and out of the huddle? When we're not huddling, can you communicate at the line of scrimmage? And then obviously all the accuracy and the toughness and the playmaking ability that you want to see. So I don't know if there's a certain metric. It's just we're going to give all those guys opportunities and equal opportunities to get out there and compete. And the scrimmages will be good. And I remember last year, that's really where you first started to notice Lenoris were in scrimmage situations where we made the quarterbacks live, and he was able to break tackles and run around, and you kind of saw what makes him unique also. So we'll be able to tell a lot more as the spring goes on with all those guys and from that standpoint. And then Lenoris difference. Probably just the willingness to speak up and try and show some leadership. Last year at this time, he was the new guy, and even during the season, Spencer was the quarterback, and Lenoris wasn't really a vocal guy where he was going to speak up and try and lead the group. He's taken on more of a role where he has spoken up more, whether it be in team meetings or outside on the field or trying to organize the offense to throw and things like that on their own. He's taken more of a leadership role from that standpoint, and that's probably the biggest thing. But Lenoris is a guy you don't notice him, but you notice him, if that makes sense. He's the same guy day in, day out. He works really, really hard. I was in the weight room this morning at 6:20, and we didn't have anything until 7:30 as a team, but he was in the weight room just trying to get some extra work in this morning before practice even started, just stretching and stuff like that. And that's just who he is.
And as Beamer mentioned there, Lenoris Sellers has been here for a season at least. He's already ingrained in this program. He has the inside track on this job. But as Beamer's been very adamant, it is an open competition, as is every other spot on this roster. And look, Robbie Ashford comes in from Auburn with experience as a starter. Davis Beville comes in from Oklahoma with experience as a starter, very limited, but experience nonetheless. And those guys have that advantage over Lenoris Sellers. But if Lenoris Sellers is the great athlete that we have heard and in small glimpses seen him to be up to this point in his college career, he should be able to handle it. He should be able to still win the job at the end of the day. And this is a point that Terry and I brought up. For somebody else to win this job, they have to be significantly better than Lenoris Sellers, in our opinion. Because if it's a tie or if it's close, like in baseball, tie goes to the runner. The runner's Lenoris Sellers because, again, he's already been here. He knows the ins and outs. He knows the intricacies of this offense that these other guys may not be quite as well versed on yet. So I feel like Lenoris Sellers is in a good spot. And as long as he does not go out there and look disastrous, which, again, from what he did in the scrimmages a season ago, what we saw in the spring game and the few times he got on the field in the fall, I don't think he should have an issue when it comes to winning this job. And Robbie Ashford could serve as a very good backup, very similar skill set, obviously, with the ability to run. And that in the ideal world, that'd be how it plays out. Now, again, it's going to be a competition that's ongoing, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Beamer doesn't even name a starter in game number 1. And you give both those guys a significant amount of snaps to go out there and prove something to you in in a game against an actual opponent. But when it gets down to the thick of things, in week number 2 with conference play, I expect, and many of y'all do as well, Lenoris Sellers to indeed be that quarterback for South Carolina. Want to hit one more quick cut here from Coach Beamer. A lot of questions about Luke Doty yesterday. Cut number 13 here, Ed. Here's Coach Beamer talking about Luke Doty's role on this team.
Yeah, he likes that athlete title. Steve asked me what to list him as, so I called Luke and I asked him, and he said athlete. So, and he is. I think he is. That's exactly what he is. He's just a really good football player, and I think he'll have an even more active role on special teams for us this season. We used him last year on our punt pressure team, like punt return. We used him on that, but not much else. I think he was on the kickoff team before I got here in 2020, but he'll have more of an active role on special teams. He looked good as a receiver today, and he's really improved as a quarterback. He really has, and he's made progress there. So he is certainly an athlete that makes our football team better. He's a leader on this football team, and we want to get our best guys on the field, and Luke's certainly one of our better players, and eager to see kind of how this spring goes for him from a receiver standpoint, quarterback standpoint, special team standpoint. He loves Carolina, and he's bought into everything right now.
I think it was Dow Loggins last week that may have described Luke Doty as a Taysom Hill type of player, somebody that can just do a variety of things that you can plug into different areas on your offense, on special teams, and he can be successful. Luke Doty does seem to be that type of player. Now, he's obviously loved here at Carolina just for sticking around in an era of the transfer portal and all that kind of stuff. Nobody would have blamed him if he left when Spencer Rattler came in as a quarterback 2 seasons ago. Said, okay, well, he's going to go. He's going to find a place that he can start. But he stuck around. And not only stuck around, but he found a way to be involved on this team without just sitting the bench as a backup quarterback. He's gone out there. He's played wide receiver. He's been on special teams. He literally is willing to do it all. And it seemed like the indication was that he was going to be focusing primarily on wide receiver going forward. But yesterday, he was in a green no-contact jersey, so he's at least doing something still with the quarterbacks. And maybe that's just a period where, he's still being involved with them till they feel comfortable enough with the guys behind Lenore Sellers or whatever it may be. But, Luke Doty never really ceasing to amaze when it comes to the variety of hats that he wears on this team, and I fully expect him to wear a lot this upcoming season as well. As Coach Beamer mentioned there, when you have an athlete like him, you try and find a way to get him on the field in whatever means possible. Real quick, I want to remind you once again about the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway going on all baseball season long. It's your chance to win a lot of money whenever a Gamecock hitter finally blasts a Grand Slam this season. Pot is over $500 right now, as $25 more went in the pot last night with no Grand Slam. When somebody does inevitably hit a Grand Slam, you could be the lucky winner of all that money. Just go online to 1075thegame.com and register for your chance to win the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. Speaking of a lot of money, the Clemson Tigers might be paying a lot of money to the ACC if they can find a way to get out of the conference. We'll discuss the latest lawsuit and the perspective of Clemson fans coming up on the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on this Wednesday on The Game.
The Game Network. The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. The Game TV. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. A great selection of new Chevys is available now at Herndon Chevrolet. The lot is packed with inventory and more is on the way. So shop your hometown Chevy dealer today. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
South Carolina weather can be a little crazy. Make sure your biggest investment is protected. Call the guys in the powder blue trucks, the Guttermen. They've been providing top-notch service throughout the Midlands for over 40 years. Call the Guttermen today at 791-7147. That's 791-7147.
We keep the clutter out of your gutter. Call on the Guttermen.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your foundation and damaging your home. Cracks in walls and uneven floors are just a few signs your foundation is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Mount Valley Foundation Services. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at fixmyfoundation.com.
There's something remarkable about the University of South Carolina. It's in the labs, where researchers are discovering ways to make communities healthier and stronger. It's in the nation's best first-year student experience, in top-ranked programs in nursing and health sciences. It's where more South Carolina students have access to higher education than ever before. Because when you stand for something bigger than yourself, you can create something that benefits us all. Behold, the remarkable we.
Music fans, on Friday, March 22nd, a very special night is coming to Columbia. Southern Songwriters with Patrick Davis, a national television show produced for SCE-TV and American Public Television, is taping live at the historic Chappelle Auditorium at Allen University. Patrick will be joined by Drew Holcomb, David Ryan Harris, and Sean Mullins. This show will air on more than 300 stations this summer, and you can be part of it. Tickets are on sale at southernsongwriters.com or patrickdavismusic.com. One night only, March 22nd in Columbia.
Join the Lexington Medical Center Foundation on Saturday, April 20th at the Pastides Alumni Center for the McDaniels Golf Classic Gala. Featuring live and silent auctions, Capital City Catering, and live music by the Crystal Clear Band. Proceeds benefit the McDaniels Pucci Cancer Fund and support programs and services at Lexington Medical Cancer Center, from diagnosis to survivorship. Purchase your tickets today at McDanielsGolfClassic.com.
It's postseason basketball time, which means it's time for some watch parties cheering on the Gamecocks. And nothing beats a watch party spread of delicious Firehouse subs. Whether it's a small party of 5 or you've invited the entire neighborhood, Firehouse Subs has you covered. Order in advance online at firehousesubs.com or tap on Rapid Rescue in the Firehouse Subs app, which is your best way to get great Firehouse rewards. Be the champion of your watch party this season, only with Firehouse Subs.
Join Angry Fish Brewing Company this week as they celebrate St. Paddy's Day in style. They're excited to announce the release of 4 new beers: Snug Harbor 80 shillings, a Scottish Ale, Tight Lines Irish Red, Roundabout ESB, Extra Special Bitter, and Pints O Gold Irish Pale Ale. And that's not all. They'll have live music with Eric Flanders on Saturday from 7 to 10, along with delicious food available every day. Make your way to Angry Fish on For Bristol Lane in Lexington this week for a St. Paddy's Day celebration you won't forget. Remember, at Angry Fish, we drink all we can and sell the rest.
What you're talking about. Brought to you by Love Chevy. Check out the Season of Love at South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 in Harbison, and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive. Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. The Extra Point with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back in. Extra Point, Tyler Head with you on this Wednesday morning. Coming up next segment at 10:30, we'll be talking to Zachary Neal from Ducks Wire. Give us some insight onto this Oregon Ducks basketball program as we get set for their matchup with South Carolina coming up tomorrow in the NCAA tournament. But the world of college sports always seems to be popping up with new headlines, especially when we talk about college football and conference realignment. And yesterday, ACC being sued by Clemson as Clemson, along with Florida State, try their best to get out of the conference they've been home, that's been their home for so very long, to seek opportunities in other leagues. And we talked about this a lot yesterday because the news broke late morning, early afternoon yesterday. And if you haven't heard by now, this is right in tune with the College Football Playoff, ESPN, the conferences announcing a new deal, or officially signing a new deal yesterday, which had quite a discrepancy in the payouts between the power conferences, which is now down to Power 4. The Pac-12 is no longer around. The SEC and the Big Ten annually, and this isn't just teams that make the playoff, all teams within this conference, as a part of this new deal, will get $21 million if you are in the SEC or the Big Ten from the college football playoff. Teams in the ACC will get around 13. Teams in the Big 12 will get around 12. So there's this huge gap between teams in the top 2 power conferences and the bottom 2 power conferences. And for perspective, this deal starts in the 26-27 season and runs through the 31-32 season. So over the course of those years, 6 years, South Carolina, regardless of if they ever make the college football playoff or not, will make $126 million purely off of this deal. In that same time frame, Clemson will make $78 million. I see where the frustration is. And Clemson, like Florida State, is trying to break their grant of rights and escape the ACC so they can get some of this money in another conference. I don't think it's that simple. And the ideal scenario for Clemson would be we leave the ACC, join the SEC, and suddenly start making all the money. I don't think the ACC wants Clemson. I don't think the ACC wants Florida State. And when we say that, that angers a lot of people. And when Terry and I were talking about this yesterday on the halftime show, we had somebody weigh in on our live stream on the Game TV, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, and say, well, Clemson's won 2 national championships. Clemson's better in baseball. Clemson's better in basketball. Of course they should join the SEC. It doesn't matter. But I thought about that comment. And when I say it doesn't matter, the results on the field have no bearing on this. They are strictly looking at number figures when they're making these decisions. But I thought about that comment a lot last night. And I understand where you're coming from. If you're a Clemson fan, if you're within the Clemson organization, why that's so frustrating to hear. Because over the course of the past 10 or so years, as all this realignment stuff's been going on, as more and more money's been poured into college sports, specifically college football, Clemson has done everything right. They've been winning 10 games a season every single year. They've been winning ACC championships, going to big bowl games. They've won 2 national championships in the past decade. They are doing everything right, in addition to having great basketball, having great baseball, other sports as well. That's secondary because football is kind of king at the end of the day. But if you're Clemson, you've done everything right on the field. That still doesn't make you attractive enough to these conferences. Because at the end of the day, you got to move the needle to join the Big Ten or the SEC. Case in point, Rutgers. We use that example a lot. Rutgers has done all of nothing in football for forever. Shianu, in his first tenure there, got them to some bowl games. That's fine. But nobody was looking at them and saying, yeah, this is a team, this is a program that can go out there and compete with Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State on an annual basis, and they haven't. But they're close enough to New York. The folks at the Big Ten league offices said, hey, if we bring these guys in, we're going to get that New York media market. Now, I believe if I went walking the streets of New York and polled 100 people, maybe 5 of them would say that they watch Rutgers football. Maybe. That's being generous. So I don't even know how much that moves the needle necessarily, but it's the attractiveness of that big TV market that brings people in. If Clemson was in Charlotte, then we're having a different conversation. But the fact that you're in the Greenville area, that's the closest city, obviously, not big enough. Not to mention the fact you're already in a state that has an SEC program. And I guarantee you a lot of fans in the upstate, diehard Clemson fans, they're probably already watching the SEC anyway. So you're not really changing the dynamic and bringing in new eyes by bringing a Clemson or even a Florida State into the SEC. You go to North Carolina, though, Chapel Hill, go up to Virginia, Charlottesville bringing in UVA. Now we're talking. Now you're bringing in some new blood. Now you're bringing in some new eyes. Now you're bringing in entirely new states to your conference. That's more attractive to the SEC and the Big Ten as well. UVA and UNC would have a shot at making the Big Ten too. I don't know what's going to happen with this lawsuit. Quite frankly, I don't think that Clemson can get out of its grant of rights. In fact, the ACC put out a statement yesterday that said Clemson, along with all ACC members, voluntarily signed and re-signed the 2013 and 2016 grant of rights, which is binding through 2036. In addition, Clemson agreed to the process and procedures for the withdrawal, the $140 million exit fee. The conference's legal counsel will vigorously enforce the agreement and bylaws in the best interest of the ACC's current and incoming members. I don't see how Clemson gets out of this. I don't see how Florida State gets out of this unless they just pony up all that money somehow. And even if they do, let's say that they do escape the ACC and are a lot lighter on the wallet because of it. The SEC and the Big Ten aren't going to be waiting there with arms wide open, saying, come on, join us. We'll give you all this money that we give our other teams in the conference. It's not a guarantee. Now, could they go to the Pac-12 or the Big 12? Sure. And their media rights deal ends in 2031. So you could technically be making more if they end up getting a better deal for those final 5 years that you'd be locked into the ACC instead. So there's potential there, but they're shooting for the stars. They're looking at the SEC. They're looking at the Big Ten saying, this is where we belong to be. But I don't think the feeling's mutual. I don't think the SEC and the Big Ten look back at them and say, yeah, please, we desperately want you to come. Please get out of the ACC and come join our conference. I don't think it works that way. I mean, Greg Sankey said, yeah, we're not looking to expand anytime soon. And the SEC has been very meticulous in its process of adding teams. They don't just do it willy-nilly. They really make sure that they want to add a team to the conference. So Clemson saying, hey, look at us. We escaped the ACC. Can we join? I don't think that door is necessarily going to be open the way that Clemson may think it's going to be. Legal processes take a while to work themselves out, so this story isn't going to go anywhere anytime soon. But I will say, I can understand from a Clemson fan perspective where you're coming from and why this is frustrating. Because, again, you've done everything right up to this point, but that doesn't make you more attractive to the SEC or the Big Ten, where Clemson obviously wants to end up if they really want to make more dough than they're currently making in the ACC. So, see what happens. Best of luck to you, but I'm not counting on them to pull off anything crazy here. Craft Beer Card is back. You can spend $30 at a brewery at 12 craft beer locations, a $360 value, all yours for only $79. Go on to 1075game.com and click on the Sweet Deals tab for your opportunity to purchase the Craft Beer Card. Dive into more basketball. Get some perspective on the Oregon Ducks from Zachary Neal of Ducks Wire coming up next. It is the Extra Points Outhead with you on this Wednesday on The Game.
The Game Network. The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV. Download the 107.5 The Game app and listen anywhere. The beach. The gym. And yes, even there. Go to iTunes or Google Play and snag the 107.5 The Game app.
Need work but not finding anything requiring skill or experience?
Yeah, I need a job where I can continue to grow, not start over flipping burgers.
Do you like working with your hands?
Yes.
Have you managed a team or operations before?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you're exactly who we're looking for.
If this sounds like you, Georgia Pacific Clarendon, OSB, is hiring. Many positions are available ranging from production to administration. Give them a call today at 803-505-4414 or find them online at georgiapacific.com/careers.
Plus tax, tags, and title with approved credit. Call 888-320-6359 for details. We're more than halfway through JT's Kia Mania. Don't miss your chance to win a Kia. No purchase necessary. Just come in and register. With every new car, you get a huge cashback check. Wow. Choose from new 2024 Kia Souls, K5s, Fortes, and more. Zero down and no payments for 6 months. Plus food, fun, and games for the kids all weekend. Experience JT's Kia Mania on Killian or Greystone. JT's Kia Mania is back.
The Cocky Trot 5K and Fun Run and Walk, presented by Palmetto Shirt Company, is back. Join Gamecock fans on Saturday, April 20th for the fun-filled morning racing around Gamecock Park and Williams-Brice Stadium. Learn more and register today at GamecocksOnline.com/CockyTrot.
Don't let allergies keep you down. Call the pros at Zerez Air Duct Cleaning to remove the dust from your home. Mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game to get $50 off your next air duct cleaning. Use code AIR50 when scheduling online at ZerezColumbia.com.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Clark. Garnet Trust is hoping to build the best and most sustainable NIL program in the country. To find out how you can get involved, go on over to GarnetTrust.com. You can support Gamecock athletes there, get access to exclusive content, and help Garnet Trust build the best NIL program in the country.
Strengthening the lives of children and families is a passion. Turn that passion into results as a child welfare case manager. Learn more at dss.sc.gov. This message is sponsored by the South Carolina Department of Social Services. When it comes to comfort, you can rely on Brian's Heating and Cooling. Here's Adam Vance with why he uses Brian's.
Simply service and response time. We were down on our HVAC, needed service that evening during a very hot summer day. I called Brian on a Friday afternoon. He was out of town, answered the call immediately, and we had a tech on site within a couple hours on a very busy, challenging, high-volume day for him.
Call Brian's Heating and Cooling at 796-1788.
Get your taste buds ready. Chicken Parm just got an upgrade. The new Chicken Parmesan Meatball Sub from Firehouse Subs is made with savory chicken meatballs in a bright marinara sauce topped with shaved Parmesan, melted provolone, and crispy Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, served on a toasted garlic bread roll. Try the new Chicken Parmesan Meatball Sub for a limited time only at Firehouse Subs. Order online or on the app today. They make their subs differently because their subs can make a difference every day. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives.
Get out to Charwood Golf Club today. Bill Gunner for my great friends Rock and Daniel Lucas. Charwood is one of my favorite courses to go and visit. Take my son Austin and go hang out and play a round of golf. You need to do the same. Call today for a tee time. 803-755-2000. Your golfing friends at Charwood Golf Club are ready to host you and have a great day doing it. So call. Line up that tee time. 803-755-2000. That's Charwood Golf Club.
When it comes to beautiful lawns, nothing cuts like a Gravely zero-turn mower. And there's nothing like Gravely's Mow the Distance sales event starting the 27th. Save up to 25% with special financing available only at your local Gravely dealer.
What's up, folks? Anthony Armstrong here.
Bob Papa along with Super Bowl champion Carl Banks.
Hey, NFL fans. This is Solomon Wilcox, former NFL safety and host of the Believe in Bengals podcast. Catch my show and all 32 Believe NFL podcasts. Listen in to former players give their inside perspective on your favorite team. Search Believe, that's BLEAV, on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.
It's always football season, wherever you listen.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On your home of the Gamecocks. In Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back in. It's the Extra Points out ahead with you on this Wednesday morning. We're a little over 24 hours away from NCAA tournament action for the South Carolina Gamecocks as they take on the Oregon Ducks tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. You'll be able to listen to that right here on the games. They'll be playing up in Pittsburgh. To get some perspective from Eugene, Oregon, we go out to Love Chevrolet phone lines. Welcome in Zachary Neal from Ducks Wire. Zachary, first of all, thank you so much for taking your time for me this morning. I know it's a little bit earlier out there on the West Coast than it is out here on the East Coast, but certainly appreciate your insight. Entering this season, Oregon had been on a little bit of a drought, which is weird to say. It'd only been 2 years since their last NCAA tournament appearance. Did you expect the Ducks to be a tournament team going into this season?
First of all, good morning. Thank you for having me on. Yes, like you said, there was a 2-year drought, 2 straight NIT appearances, which fans had grown very frustrated with. But they started out really strong to the season. They looked really good throughout the month of November and December, went on a little winning streak, despite health being an issue. I mean, N'Faly Dante and Nate Biddle, 2 of their best big men, missed most of December. They had surgery early in the season, so there were questions about what this team could do, but they were still playing very well. They had some players really showing up at the right times, had a really good non-conference. So, yeah, there was expectations that they could get back to the tournament, and they should get there. Injuries kind of had more of a factor down the stretch, and January was really tough, and so it kind of looked like things were going the wrong way, and another NIT bid might be in the cards instead of a March Madness bid. But early in the season, yes, it definitely seemed like this was the case, but like the NCAA tournament was in the cards, but things changed a little bit during the start of the year.
You mentioned those injuries, and when you look at how this team started off conference play with 5 straight wins to start off the beginning of the year, and it looks like N'Faly Dante was out for some of those games. Is that the reason why they were maybe a little bit streaky down the stretch, is the injuries and the inconsistencies? Because after that 5-game winning streak, they were never able to put together more than 2 wins in a row.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest scapegoat to nail down. I mean, N'Faly had knee surgery after the very first game of the season. I think they played Georgia in the season opener. He had, I forget what the stats were, but a great game, 20-something points, really led them. He had surgery, was out for a couple of months. Nate Biddle, their other big man, had surgery, was out for a couple of months. They lost Jesse Zarzuela, Mookie Cook, Keyshawn Bartholomew, again, Nate Biddle. All those guys were, projected to be starters, if not very prominent role players when they were healthy. All of them have been out for the season for, at least the past month or 2, if not more. So I think that's the easiest reason for saying things have gone a little bit sideways, but there's other factors in there. Shooting has been a major issue. There's been some major defensive lapses over the year, but as most Dana Altman teams, once you get to February and March, things start to kind of get going in the right direction, which is what we saw this year.
Again, talking to Zachary Neal from Ducks Wire, I was getting some thoughts on the Oregon Ducks ahead of tomorrow's matchup with the Gamecocks. I've obviously mentioned N'Faly Dante a couple times. He was completely on fire in the Pac-12 tournament over the weekend. How does anybody slow him down in this matchup tomorrow?
That's a good question. He's been, he's had a long career at Oregon. I've seen a ton of N'Faly Dante over the past 5 years. This is the best basketball he's played, bar none. I mean, he's averaging 19 points per game, 10 rebounds per game on 84% shooting from the floor. You mentioned the Pac-12 championship. He went 12 for 12 against Colorado with 25 points and 9 rebounds. It's just kind of incredible what he's doing right now, and it's all dominant low post game. I mean, it's crazy. He's someone who, you don't see in NBA mock drafts for next year because he's kind of got that Zach Edey for Purdue factor going on where he doesn't shoot threes. He doesn't shoot. I mean, Duck fans get scared when he takes a jump shot from the elbow. If he's not banging in the post, then you're a little bit scared of what he can do offensively, but he is so dominant in the post that I don't know how someone without a very dominant big man is going to be able to stop him because he's really playing his best basketball right now.
Looking back at the Pac-12 tournament this past weekend, the Ducks really honed in on using the 2-3 zone defense throughout that tournament. That's something that seems like they maybe had used at points this year, but really, really hammered it this past weekend. Is that going to be in the game plan for tomorrow as well against South Carolina, you think?
I wouldn't be surprised at all. They've used it sparingly this season. I mean, they still primarily go man, but yes, like you said, in the Pac-12 tournament, they used the 2-3 zone. We talked to them after that on Sunday, Selection Sunday, and they said, it just allowed us to communicate a lot better. It allowed us to really play cohesively as a defense, and it worked for them. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that going forward. But again, this is a team that plays a lot of man as well, so they might switch it up a little bit.
Dana Altman, one of the best coaches in the country when it comes to making the NCAA tournament. As I mentioned, it was a quote-unquote drought, missing it for the past 2 years, having to go to the NIT, but back once again this year. What's your level of confidence going into a tournament when you have a coach like Coach Altman at the helm?
I mean, he's 7-0 in the first round of the tournament with Oregon, so I think that Oregon fans feel pretty confident. I know they are the lower seed here. Betting lines, from what I've seen, this is hovering around a 1 point, 1.5 point spread either direction. I've seen it both ways. So I think Oregon fans are really confident. He just seems to be one of those coaches that gets his guys to play their best ball when their backs up against the wall. We saw that in the Pac-12 tournament. We've seen him make deep runs in the NCAA tournament with, 11, 12 seeded teams before. So I think Duck fans feel really good about the guy that's leading them into this week.
Again, talking to Zachary Neal from Ducks Wire about the Oregon Ducks header tomorrow's matchup with the Gamecocks. And as excited as I am for this matchup and to see what happens over the course of the NCAA tournament, I can't get somebody from a Pac-12 program on without asking the question, what are your thoughts and what's been your perspective on this downfall of the Pac-12 as Oregon claimed the final Pac-12 basketball championship this past weekend? And once baseball season ends, that's going to be it for the conference that we've known and loved for so long.
Yeah, that was a nice parting gift for Oregon and the Pac-12, getting that last ever Pac-12 title in basketball. Wish we were able to do that in football, but that's a different story.
Close.
It's close. It's been interesting, It's one of those things. There's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad to it. I've always said that for football, it's a fantastic move and a great outlook for them going to the Big Ten. For every other sport, I think basketball included, it's kind of frustrating because, there is that sentimentality that we all love the Pac-12. And, Pac-12's had a lot of success in the NCAA tournament over the past, several years, several decades. So it'll be really tough to see those doors close. We don't know exactly how early in the tournament those doors are going to close. I know there's some hope and speculation about how far Arizona is going to be able to go in this tournament, but it'll be something that's kind of hard to come to grips with once it actually does happen.
Well, I kind of think about it like this: making a midweek trip out to Pittsburgh. That's going to be kind of the norm starting next year in the Big Ten. It'll be like playing Penn State in a midweek.
Yeah, I think those air miles are going to rack up really quickly.
Well, we were all sad to see the Pac-12 go, but very cool for Oregon to finally claim that last Pac-12 title this past weekend. And excited to see this matchup coming up tomorrow. I think it's two very evenly matched teams. That yes, South Carolina is the higher seed, but I'm looking around and I see a lot of split projections on this. That it seems like it could really go either way, according to a lot of experts.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of your big time names say that. Okay, I could see Oregon winning this game, and then you look at some of the stats up in the stats in the specific matchups for South Carolina, and they don't count them out. This is going to be a very close game. I would not be surprised to see it go either way.
Well, looking forward to it. Should be a fun matchup, and appreciate a few minutes of your time this morning, Zach.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Again, that's Zachary Neal from Ducks Wire, all the way out there in Eugene, Oregon, bright and early this morning, giving us some thoughts on the Ducks. Again, matchup between the Ducks and the Gamecocks coming up tomorrow afternoon, 4 o'clock. Tip pregame coverage starting at 3:30 right here on the Game. Women's team in action on Friday in the first round of their tournament. Tip off at 2. Pregame coverage starting at 1:30 right here on the Game as well. We'll come back and wrap up hour number 2. Did Virginia make a case against NCAA tournament expansion? We'll talk about that next here in the Extra Point on the Game.
The Game Network.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach.
Also on the 107.5 The Game app and streaming live on The Game TV.
It's the easiest way to snag Gamecocks baseball tickets for nothing. It's our Twin Peaks dance contest from the Game. Just stop by Twin Peaks in the Vista Thursday starting at 11:30 a.m. before our live show at Twin Peaks and randomly draw one of the 68 teams in the tournament. Hold on to that team. If your squad wins it all, you'll snag season tickets to the remainder of the 2024 USC baseball season. The Twin Peaks Dance Contest from Twin Peaks and the Game.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute. You knew this was coming. After its success last year with the series Quarterback, Netflix is adding another one called Receiver, which will follow Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Amon-Ra St. Brown through 8 episodes this summer, and I can't wait. How many ways can you show glue-fingered divas moaning, "I was open all day"? I'm Boomer Esiason. CBS Sports Radio.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. The body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text HATCH to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone-boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text HATCH to 42424. That's HATCH to 42424.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any.
There's something remarkable about the University of South Carolina. It's in the labs, where researchers are discovering ways to make communities healthier and stronger. It's in the nation's best first-year student experience, in top-ranked programs in nursing and health sciences. It's where more South Carolina students have access to higher education than ever before. Because when you stand for something bigger than yourself, you can create something that benefits us all. Behold, the remarkable we.
Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? You know, my...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness from my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Bill Gunner for Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic. Getting older is never fun. You start experiencing some symptoms that you're not accustomed to. Maybe it's brain fog. Maybe it's low energy level. Maybe it's lack of drive and motivation. But at the Men's Clinic, Dr. Dan Balknight is ready to help you with an individualized treatment that will treat your needs. So give them a phone call today, 803-875-MENS. Again, that's 803-875-MENS, or visit them on the web for more information, mensclinicsc.com.
Extra Point with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome back in. Extra Point. Tyler Head with you. A few more minutes here solo, and then Wes and Chris will jump in with me. We'll hear more from Coach Beamer yesterday and also talk more about this matchup between the Gamecocks and the Ducks coming up tomorrow. Real quick, want to remind you once again about the Twin Peaks Dance Contest going on tomorrow with myself and Terry Ford out at Twin Peaks in the Vista. Come by starting at 11:30. Pick a name out of the drawing for one of the teams in the dance. If your team wins, you get South Carolina baseball season tickets for the rest of the season. You can also win other prizes depending on how far your team goes in the upcoming dance tournament. That's all tomorrow at Twin Peaks down in the Vista. Again, we'll be out there from noon until 3. Come by a little bit early and grab yourself a team out of the hat. The tournament, again, in a lot of people's eyes, gets started proper tomorrow, but we are in the midst of the first 4. And last night, had a pair of first 4 games going on out there in Dayton to determine who was going to occupy the final couple of spots in the NCAA tournament. Wagner punched their ticket by beating Howard 71-68. And Colorado State handily defeats Virginia 67-42. If you watched this game last night, I feel like I should apologize to you. Now, South Carolina plays really slow, but they look like the Flash compared to Virginia. Virginia plays extremely slow, and that doesn't mean their basketball is bad. But the display they put on last night, their inability to shoot anything at all was horrendous. 14 points in the first half. On the game, 25% from the field, 14-56, 3 of 17 from 3, and 64% from the free throw line. Again, they were never in this game with Colorado State after like the 12-minute mark in the first half. Again, they only scored 14 points in the first half. This is not a great Virginia team. But they occupied one of the final slots in making it in, or at least making it in the first 4, having a chance to be in the NCAA tournament over a St. John's, over an Indiana State, over all these other programs that were left on the outside looking in to settle for NIT bids. And we're in a time right now where the conversation of NCAA tournament expansion is rampant because it seems like it's on the horizon. And I saw so many people last night coming away from this game and just this ugly display of basketball that UVA put on saying, well, this should be the reason why you don't expand the NCAA tournament. Letting teams like this in is not going to benefit the tournament in any way. And you know what? You're probably right. Expanding the tournament to allow more mediocre teams like this into the NCAA tournament doesn't make the tournament any better, but it wouldn't have mattered if Virginia scored no points last night. If Virginia was 0% in all categories across the board last night, tournament expansion is still going to happen. Why? Money. Same reason why the, Clemson conversation is so interesting. Why are they unlikely to join the SEC? Because they don't generate enough money for a league like that to be interested enough to want to bring them in. Same thing with the NCAA tournament. Expanding to 80 teams, 96 teams, whatever it may be, is going to bring in money regardless of what teams those are. We say, we want more representation from the mid-majors. We want the Indiana States, the St. John's, whoever it may be to make the NCAA tournament if you expand it. That's not going to be the case. They're just going to invite more Virginias. They're going to invite more mediocre to bottom-tier programs out of these power conferences. And you know what people are going to watch? People are going to be more inclined to watch because those are bigger names and bigger brands that you're bringing into the NCAA tournament, regardless if they're in the first 4 or the NCAA tournament himself. It's one of those unfortunate things where we can all collectively hate it and all say we don't want it, but it's going to happen. And at the end of the day, we're going to watch. As I've said, if you're going to expand it, make it like a play-in final, first 4, where instead of just expanding the entire tournament field, make a mini 3-day tournament out of the first 4. If you're going to go to 80 teams. Again, I'm just trying to come up with something I'd be interested in here. But even if they don't do that, even if they go to 96 teams, 100 teams, all 300 some odd teams, however many teams I want to put in the tournament, we're going to watch because we're so captivated by March Madness. It doesn't matter who's in it, but we're more intrigued when it's these bigger names, when it's these brands that have more pull, have more name recognition. Virginia is a bigger brand than Indiana State. And that's the reason why they got in the tournament. They're a power conference. They're a bigger brand. Whether their style of basketball is pretty or not, they attract more attention. They attract more eyeballs, which, again, at the end of the day, that helps that bottom line, which is why the NCAA tournament is going to expand whether we like it or not. So enjoy Field of 64, Field of 68, however you want to phrase it, for as long as we have it, because it will soon be changing in the very, very near future, like it or not. That'll do it for today's edition of The Extra Point. Coming up next, it is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Wes Mitchell and Chris Clark will jump in here with me. We'll continue to react to everything that they saw out in the first practice of spring yesterday. I also get some more sound from Coach Beamer as he spoke after practice yesterday. Going to hear from Dow Loggins and Clayton White later on today, as the coordinators will take to the podium to talk to the media as well. Again, all that coming up in the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs here on The Game.